Hello, my name is Neil Arwin Mercado, reporter for INQUIRER.net, and welcome to another episode of INQside Look. Joining us here today is Vice Presidential Bet and the Deputy Speaker Lito Atienza. Sir, magandang araw po.
Mabuhay. Magandang araw din sa iyo.
Sir, I feel pakiramdam ko mas medyo busy kayo ngayon, sir, but thank you for granting us a bit of your time for this interview, sir. Your name wasn't really out there, sir. When we're having initial discussions about who might run in next year's elections, hindi mo talaga masyado naririnig yung Lito Atienza. But when the filing of the COC came, you were there and filed your candidacy for vice presidency. Can you tell us, sir? Can you walk us through how that happened?
Well, I did not plan it really, Neil. In fact, I had no intentions of running anymore. I had plans of retiring from politics. 50 years na ako 50 years in politics, in public office. So medyo nakapaglingkod na ako ng sapat. I feel. And maybe it's time to concentrate on my NGOs and my family and my grandchildren especially. So yun ang aking plano. Ang gusto ko sana tutulungan ko lamang si Manny up to the filing. And then I will retire from political activities. Kinausap niya ako, kinumbinsi niya ako. Sabi niya, ikaw ang gusto kong vice president, congressman, because kilala kita . We have known each other for more than 2 decades. And I've seen you in public office, and I admire your demeanor, and you are also the same things that I'm after. A good, clean government that will provide the Filipinos a better life. So please, tulungan mo ko. How could I say no to that? Tama yung pinindot niyang buton, tama . You've been trying to help the poor. I know that. From mayorship, from the DNR, as congressman for 9 years. Ngayon, kailangan ko ang tulong mo. Help me. I believe that you are the only one who would really understand my intentions for our country and our people, and you will do your best to help me win. Hindi na ako nakatanggi. And
would you say, sir,
that
that
I asked for a little more time to pray over it. Kasi sinabi niya sa akin, gabi, sabi ko, let me pray over it overnight, and tomorrow, let's have an early breakfast. And alternate the night, really, I was concentrating and praying to God. You guide me in this decision because this is a big leap rather than retiring. Lalaban pa ako ngayon as for Vice President. Kung sa tingin mo hindi makakaganda, send me any message and I'll be very, very happy to receive it from you, Lord. Ang message niya, simple. Pursue your vision, help Manny Pacquiao win the election, and also help him in the administration. So, hindi na ako nakatanggi. I agreed, and that's the reason why I filed my certificate together with him.
Congressman Atienza, you've been vocal about kung hindi nyo iboboto si Manny, wag nyo na lang ako iboto. You've mentioned that multiple times already in your media interviews.
Yes,
why is that so? And aren't you worried, sir, that would affect your chances of winning the vice presidential race?
I'll be very, very truthful to you. I'm only running because I want to help Manny. I don't want to help anyone. I don't believe any other candidate today can match Manny's sincerity and intentions to help the poor. Remove corruption, especially from government. That's the number one reason why we remain poor. Paikot-ikot na lang tayo, but corruption stays on. In fact, aggravating in every administration. And today, we see right before our very eyes. So kung iba mananalo, hindi ako interesado. Si Manny, I'd like to help him accomplish his goal. Clean up the government, remove corruption, and provide the poor better opportunities in an effective government. Yun ang aking dahilan, kaya ako tumatakbo, and I don't want to be a partner of any other presidential whom I know. I know all of them. Neil, believe me, I know all of their backgrounds, I know their characters, And to me, I chose the best. Manny Pacquiao to me is the best among the lot.
In a hypothetical scenario, sir, that Congressman Atienza becomes the Vice President of the Philippines, but it's not Senator Manny Pacquiao who wins the presidential race, what's going to happen there?
I may beg off my election because I'm really convinced I'll be wasting 6 more of the last stages of my life for nothing, because I don't think the others will do what Manny intends to do. So, sayang naman yun. Aksayahin ko pa ang panahon. Pag alis namin sa pwesto, mas mahirap pa ang bansa. I'll feel wasted. I may decline the election. Kaya sinasabi ko, kung iboboto niyo ako, boto niyo yung presidente ko. Kung hindi naman, kung iba ang presidente niyo, don't choose me. Choose the vice president of that president. Because hindi kami magiging magkabagay. And the country will suffer again on a divided administration.
Sir, frankly speaking, Senator Pacquiao and yourself, if strictly we're gonna look at the surveys, medyo wala tayo doon sa top spots in the survey, sir. What do you think, frankly speaking, sir, what's your chance of winning?
Neil, be real. Don't believe the surveys. Don't believe it. Believe me, today, people are spending big money on surveys. Depending on who's paying for the survey, siya malalabas sa panalo dyan. The survey that I'm believing, it what I am seeing in the field. Lahat ng lugar na punta namin, lumalabas, tumatakbo mga tao, sinasalubong siya ng buong init na pagmamahal. May halong pasasalamat, may halong pagmamahal, at merong sigaw ng damdamin. Manny Pacquiao, ikaw ang aming Pangulo. I'm talking about the people who meet us everywhere we went. Pangasinan is supposed to be part of the solid north. Sabi nga ng mga taga-Pangasinan, akala namin, ano na ito give up na kami, yung mga Pacquiao doon. Pero nung naglabasan ng mga tao, hindi pala naman Marcos country ito. Pacquiao country pala ito. That's an example. And I believe people will realize on election day, a big surprise. Manny Pacquiao by a landslide.
Manny Pacquiao by a landslide. So balikan ko lang yung comment na sinabi nyo kanina, sir. So you believe that the surveys that we have right now are, kumbaga, they are paid for?
I would not believe any survey done today. Now is the Christmas also, because bonuses are spread around now. Now is a campaign, almost the campaign period, at least political season. So surveys are self-serving.
Self-serving.
Self-serving. So I wouldn't give it any relevance at this point in time. I am not going to be daunted by it, nor even discouraged, simply because I see what's happening in the field and how people are opening their homes for Manny Pacquiao. I've been through many campaigns, and I know when people are really expressing themselves for a certain candidate.
You, Congressman Lito, you've had many years of political experience with you. You've served as mayor of Manila, congressman currently in the House of Representatives. You've had many years of experience campaigning physically, visiting homes, visiting constituents. And recently nga na-involve si Senator Manny Pacquiao sa, maybe I would call it controversy still. Especially he's been accused of vote buying by his critics because nga dun sa pamimigay niya ng 1,000 pesos during his campaign trails. What's your take on that, sir? Based on your experience?
I don't see that as vote buying. Number one, we're not yet in the campaign period. So there's no law that tells Neil, do not give away money to anyone in need. Nobody tells me that. Marami akong tinutulungan hanggang ngayon. Vote buying ba yun? Hindi. Yan ginagawa ko na yan nung araw pa, gagawin ko yan hanggang pagdating ng campaign period. Pagdating ng campaign period, and you do that, that's vote buying. That's already against the law. Pero today, Manny Pacquiao is merely doing what he has started 15 years ago. The moment he earned big money, he always shared it with the people in need. Ngayon, yung mga pinupuntahan namin lugar where he gives away money, mga lugar na mahihirap talaga yun. Sa Cebu, we went to Pangamuha. It's a small fishing village where poverty is really felt. Yung mga pinupuntahan niya lugar talagang nabibigay siya ng tulong na malugod sa puso niya. And sabi nga niya, huwag niyong masamain yan sa mga kalaban niya. May pera din kayo mayayaman kayo. Why don't you share your wealth? Me, I've been doing this. From the moment I earned wealth, I shared it to the people. You have been rich all this time. Why don't you share your money? He's addressing the very wealthy aspirants for the presidency. And tama naman. Ako, I also look at it as something that is part and parcel of Manny Pacquiao. So you cannot change him because he is already declared, he has filed his candidacy. But when the law takes effect, no more giving away of money to anyone, in other words, the campaign proper starts, he should follow the law. And I think that's exactly what he said. Pagdating ng panahon na hindi na ako pwede magbigay, titiisin ko yung aking tendency. Dahil talaga ang tendency ko kung nakakita ako ng pamilya na nakahiga sa sidewalk, gusto kong babaan, bigyan ng pera. Pero pagdating ng kampanya, I cannot do that. I will control myself.
I would like to quickly touch on the topic of substitution because we're nearing the November 15 deadline. There's still talks about whether a certain candidate will be substituted, will be replaced, and so on, will withdraw his or her certificate of candidacy. What's your take on substitution, sir? Do you think, because some people have said, lawmakers and even critics in the public have said na parang pambabastos na siya, so like the politics here in the Philippines. So what's your take on substitution?
It's an aberration of our democratic system. That is not normal. It is actually hoodwinking the people. It's already telling a lie at the very first step of filing your certificate. This should be corrected. And I am going to support any bill that would correct it. I understand my good friend Rufus Rodriguez
Congressman
already filed it. I will co-sponsor it and we will defend it on the floor. And I would do my best to correct it. Hindi na dapat payagan yan. Nag-umpisa lang naman yan 2016 Substitution has always been available for force majeure, like the candidate dying or unable to continue the campaign. Meron na talagang substitution provision ng batas. Pero itong substitution by intention and fooling the people, hoodwinking them to believe this while they do this, planned swindle to it. And I cannot agree with it. When you file your certificate, file it according to your intention. Hindi yung meron kang planong at a certain point, papalitan ako nitong kaibigan ko. That's really not fair, and it's going to destroy the credibility of our electoral process and affect our democracy. In the long run, it will be very bad for our elections.
A quick follow-up on that, Congressman Lito Atienza, is if titingnan mo kung sino, when we talk about substitution, usually ang context niyan is Davao City Mayor Inday Sara Duterte and even President Rodrigo Duterte, pinag-uusapan ngayon yung him substituting for a senatorial run. You are a leader in the House of Representatives. Congressman Rufus is also a House leader in Congress. And you're a part of the majority. So the assumption is you are with the administration. I mean, based on like you're part of the majority. So are you not worried about your push for banning and prohibiting substitution would affect your position?
I've always been independent-minded. And I feel I belong to the majority in Congress under Speaker Velasco. But I don't belong to the administration of President Duterte. So meron separation yan, as there are separation between legislative and executive. So doesn't bother me. And At least I know that Speaker Velasco respects my position on issues. I may be with the majority in Congress, but he respects my decision when I do not agree whatever they're pushing as a majority in Congress.
Now, sir, let's talk about this. Is sa may init na topic ngayon. Is there a disqualification case was filed against former Senator Bongbong Marcos? The petitioners are seeking to cancel his certificate of candidacy for presidency due to a tax evasion case more than 2 decades ago. So what's your take on this?
I believe that if indeed he committed a tax evasion, he didn't pay his taxes during those years, 4 years. He was even governor of Ilocos Norte. He should be disqualified. I'm sorry to hear that the COMELEC at this early stage is already practically clearing him. Yan ang medyo distortion ng ating demokrasya. The Commission on Elections should not be opening its mouth at the very beginning of an issue that will affect the candidacy of anyone. Eto, nagsalita na yung COMELEC, malamang walang kaso. Why are you speaking out at the very premature stage of the case? Now, if you ask me anong feeling ko, kung siya naging tax evader, kung siya manloko pa ng tao, hindi siya dapat tumakbo. On his own, he should take that seriously. Now, legally, I believe that there is ground. I don't agree with the statement of the COMELEC on that matter. I believe there is ground for disqualification if it found out that he had to answer a case and he was proven guilty, hindi nga lang siya nakulong. Eh, anong plano mo?
I believe
hindi ka na magbabayad ng buwis.
I believe Congressman COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez has already clarified na parang when they made that remark, wala pang cases filed against Senator Bongbong Marcos. So with that said, sir, some would say naman his Senator Bongbong supporters would say na bakit ngayon lang nire-raise yan? I mean, if it was 2 decades ago, he also ran for a vice presidential seat in 2016. He was elected as a senator before. So bakit ngayon lang?
You should ask the man who opened up the case, and that's former Supreme Court Justice Cardio. And I appreciate what he did. Kung meron kang alam na ganyan, dapat isiwalat mo. Don't get worried about what people may say. Let's worry about the nation.
Now, sticking with Senator Bongbong Marcos here for a bit, you've been vocal about the abuses in the martial law era. You shared your experiences. You were jailed during that time multiple times. Many people have already asked Senator Bongbong Marcos to apologize. But sinasabi ni Senator Bongbong is, why should I apologize for my father's sin? I mean, hindi naman daw siya yung nag-commit ng mga sin na yun. What exactly do we want to hear from Senator Bongbong Marcos?
An admission that indeed there were abuses during martial law. An admission that the economy suffered during that one-man rule. While the rest of Asia started prospering, the Philippines went down in the economic ladder. So admitin mo yan, and then palagay ko pwede na natin kalimutan. Dahil at least relax ako, hindi mo gagawin uli. Pero pag sinasabi mo, wala naman nangyari, maganda nangyari nung Marcelo, may planong ulitin pa ito. Masaya ka. Kaya ako sinasabing, if there is no admission, then there is not even remorse, then a repetition of the same is possible. And I don't want, again, Neil, for the nation to suffer martial law. 14 years of a one-man rule. Wala nang maligaya doon kundi yung pamilya Marcos. Lahat ng pamilyang Pilipino, nagdarahop, naghihirap, dumaraan ng Pasko, nagdidildil kami ng asin. Samantalan sila, Malacanang is all aglow, happy. And mababalitaan mo yung nangyayari sa New York. They just bought a building here, a building there, estate here, estate there. Tama ba yun? Deniable ba yun? What about the Crown Plaza building? The Herald building? the Lindenberg estate, and I can name you so many other properties that they bought during martial law. What about the decisions of the PCGG? Courts, the Sandigan Bayan, about a month ago, decided for them to return stolen money. Sabi ng PCGG. Ano ba yun? Are those fairy tales? Or if we don't see that, ang kasalanan nasa taong bayan na. Pero ang korte, nagde-decide naman in favor of the truth. That there is a lot of unexplained wealth on the part of the Marcoses, and they are ordered to return this money. At saka yung mga nangawalang mga bata, more than 10,000 are missing as of now. Up to now. Ano yun? Yung magulang nun, sasabihin natin, kalimutan na nyo, yung mga anak nyo nawala na lang, naligaw lang yan. Pinatay yung mga yon. If we refuse that, and we don't even admit that there were abuses, I'm afraid if this man wins, the country will go further down.
Related to what you are saying, Congressman Atienza, because ngayon sinasabi naman nila is matagal naman na yun. O kaya you would hear people say na hindi naman ganyan yung nangyari. What do you make of Senator Bongbong Marcos when he says na I should not apologize, it was my father's sin, I didn't know what was happening that time, I was very young? Or you would hear Senator Bongbong or Senator Aimee say na matagal naman na iyon. What do you make
Neil,
when you hear the siblings say
that's hypocrisy of the highest degree. Hindi mo pwede sabihin, hindi ko alam nangyayari. You were governor of Ilocos Norte in 1985. What are you talking about? Meron ka na bang Alzheimer? You're still too young for that. Have you developed amnesia? Wala ka nang naaalala o pinapaalala namin sa iyo. Kung hindi mo na naaalala, exactly, ito sinasabi namin na nakakaalala pa, dapat pag-isipan mo naman. Pero kung ipipilit mo na walang masamang nangyari, hindi tayo magkakasundo talaga. I will not allow any Marcos to say that and not be contradicted by people who suffered. I'm speaking for the Filipinos who suffered. Kung dinideny nila, lalo sila hindi dapat iboto.
Just to close this, I have a couple of questions, Congressman. Number one, for the record, should Senator Bongbong apologize? And number two, yung events in the martial law involving the Marcos family, specifically former President Marcos, is that enough of a reason for Senator Bongbong, the child of former President Marcos, to withdraw his candidacy for presidency?
No, if he admits that there was a lot of abuses committed during that period, I think it's a good sign that he is different from the father. At kapanipaniwala yung sasabihin niya, hindi ko naman gagawin yung anumang nangyaring masama eh. Dahil nakita ko yung masama at yung mabuti, doon ako sa mabuti. Then I think he should be given a chance by history to cleanse his name. Pero kung ang kanyang attitude, walang masamang ginawa ang tatay ko. Walang masama nangyari ng martial law. Alam mo kung buhay si Pugo, yung komedyano, ang reaction niya dyan, dasala sa nonsense.
Sorry, medyo napahaba tayo dito sa topic, but this is really, I think this is something that's very important to be discussed, especially in the current political landscape. If you meet with someone who's very young, let's say a first-time voter, so they weren't alive back then during the martial law era, they didn't know about the history, they can only get information from what their parents told them or what's in the internet or what are in the books. What would you tell the younger generation about the martial law?
You know,
why is it important that we talk about it?
I would always tell the truth to the young generation. But to Bongbong Marcos, I'll advise him, accept the truth. Do not deny the truth, because when you do that, you become less credible and you look silly before the eyes of those who have history deeply embedded in their minds and hearts. Yun ang aking may papayo sa kanya. To the rest of the young, talk to your parents, your grandparents, who experienced martial law.
Mhm.
Dahil kung kayo lang, baka hindi nga nyo naranasan yan, you are influenced by so many other factors other than the reality and the truth of history. Magtanong kayo sa inyong mga nakatatanda. Ayan ang may papayo ko sa mga kabataan.
Mhm. Lastly, sir, we're trying to compile the stands of the candidates on several issues. Just very quickly, sir, your stand. I will say an issue and then your stand on it. Maybe a very, very short, brief explanation as to why that is your stand, sir. Will that be all right? First, sir, mainit na mainit ngayon, fuel excise tax suspension. What's your stand on that?
What is my position on?
On the fuel excise tax suspension, there are proposals to suspend the collection.
I've always fought the implementation of this excise tax because I feel untimely.
Mhm.
The economy will not be able to absorb it.
Mhm.
Tinamaan pa tayo ng pandemya. Kaya ngayon, more than any time, I think and I feel we should suspend the excise tax.
Mhm. Next, sir, did the national government do enough when it comes to our COVID-19 response?
Did they do well?
Did the national government do enough for our COVID-19 response? Or like basically your assessment of how the national
They
government...
did the wrong things, Neil, because obvious, hindi solusyon yung mga ginawa nila.
Mhm.
Yung pipilit nilang locking down people, solves the problem. Didn't happen. We had the longest lockdowns, probably in Asia, one of the longest in the world. We had banned medicines which other countries use, like ivermectin, but we wouldn't even consider it here. And I don't know why. Tapos lumalabas yung skandalo sa Pharmally, meron palang mga interest
Yes.
sa negosyo, sa mga gamit at gamot sa COVID-19. So the rating done by Bloomberg, where the Philippines landed number 53
Mababa.
out of pinakamababa,
Mhm.
out of 53, is enough proof that this government has failed to address the problem effectively.
A quick
Kaya ngayon
follow-up, sir.
nag-normalize tayo.
Mhm.
I'm happier now.
Mhm.
Dahil marami nang namatay na Pilipino, hindi sa COVID-19. Inatake sa puso because of depression. Meron diyang mga nasiraan ng ulo.
Mhm.
Marami dyan ang nag-commit ng suicide. Our suicide rate is one of the highest now.
Mhm.
Why? Because of the measures taken by government. Yun lamang curfew, hindi ko maintindihan bakit nagka-curfew. Ano ang benepisyo ng curfew
Mhm. Mhm.
ng mga tao? Yun ay deprivation of our freedom of movement. Ay, bakit hindi palalabasin yung mga bata? Hindi pwede mag-exercise sa labas. Mga ridiculous measures which I cannot understand it. So if you ask me, how did they fare? Miserably.
Miserably. Okay. Next, sir, the West Philippine Sea issue, vis-a-vis our relationship with China, probably. What's your stand on that?
The West Philippine Sea is a misunderstood issue.
Mhm.
Kasi merong mga nagsasabi, yun daw ay atin, kinuha ng China.
Mhm.
I would like to clarify that. The West Philippine Sea and the islands there are contested areas and islands. Contested.
Mhm.
Claimed by China, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, 5 countries. So to be very accurate about our appreciation of the issues, let's start from there. These are contested islands. Huwag natin sabihin, sinakop ang Pilipinas, inagaw ang atin. Medyo magagalit na ang tao dyan. Pero ako, nakakaalam ako ng katotohanan, yun ang aking ipinapayo. Kung na kayong magagalit dahil ang China, ginagamit yung muscle nila. Kasi they claim kanila yan eh. But we also have a claim.
Mhm.
So, magtrabaho tayo sa UN. Magtrabaho tayo sa tamang forum ng ating posisyon at ng ating claim. Pag dumating ang araw, ayan talaga ay deklaradong Philippine territory and sovereignty of the Philippines should prevail there.
Mhm.
Kinuha nila. We can go to war. And I'm willing to go to war even in my advanced age to defend truly our land. Pero if you ask me now, let's go to war. Teka muna, teka muna. Huwag kang masyadong irresponsable.
But sir, there is already the arbitral ruling saying
The ruling says it's not China's. It doesn't say Philippines. Sinasabihan lang sila, huwag niyong angkinin yan, hindi inyo yan. Kanilang theory kasi kanila eh. Sabi ng ruling, tama ang Pilipinas, hindi sa inyo yan. So it's a measure, it's a decision that cautions China not to take over these areas yet because it's not yours. Yun ang essence ng ruling. Pero hindi naman sinabi ng ruling, Philippine, ano yan, own. Meron ba naman? Show me the paper. I'm quite familiar with the issue. Kaya I am advising everyone to stay cool. Huwag muna tayong mag-init.
Who would you say, sir, that the Duterte government is taking the right approach when it comes to how it deals with the West Philippine Sea issue?
Duterte administration man, overacting sa working with the Chinese. I believe, kanina lang narinig ko si Manny Pacquiao in his Rotary appearance. And he was asked that question. Maganda yung sagot niya. Hindi ko papayagan na lamangan tayo, maski na makapangyarihan sila. Pero tingnan muna natin ang talagang issue. Ang point ko ron, and I agree with it, wala pang desisyon kung kanino yung mga area na yan. Kaya huwag muna natin galitin ang Pilipino na handang mamatay at pumatay sa issue hindi naman malinaw. Yun ang aking payo sa mga nagsasabing kailangan girahin ni Duterte. Si Duterte probably knows the issues too. What I am criticizing him with is that he's overacting. Masyado naman siyang pro-China.
Yes.
I think the Pacquiao position is clear. Let's be fair to each other. Yung makukuha ng usapan at paupo, kunin natin ang usapan. Pero wag naman natin isurrender yung ating sariling claim.
Because that would bring me to my next question actually, sir. Our relationship with China. You mentioned that President Duterte is being overly pro-China, and especially in the context na parang you're gonna hear that Chinese vessels are pushing away Filipino fishermen, sir. So, do you think na...
Yun, nakakalungkot yun. Hindi dapat nangyayari yun.
So, you would say, sir, that we are being overly friendly with China?
Para tayong nakaluhod, which is not the correct posture. Dapat nakatayo rin tayo, and you should tell them straight in their face, this is also ours. We understand you have a claim, but let's wait for the UN to decide on that issue. Right now, I will not allow you to take over. I will not allow you to build your own military bases there. You're bullying us. Yun ang tamang language dapat ibigay natin sa China. For them to understand, ang Pilipino pala, matalino.
I have a few more questions.
At saka, Neil, in the face of investigations on the family, bakit natin binigyan ng special preference yung mga Chinese agents? Mga ahente lang pala yun. Ba't hindi pa tayo bumili sa mga Filipino agents ang nagkapera mga Pilipino? And so there is something not explainable in the Duterte attitude toward China.
I have a few more issues here, sir, very quickly. Next up, I have war on drugs. I would also like to include here extrajudicial killings because these two go hand in hand.
War on drugs?
Take on war on drugs and the extrajudicial killing.
The problem with drugs will continue to exacerbate for as long as the supply keeps flowing into the Philippines. Right now, the entry of drugs is not stopped at all. So, marami pa rin droga sa mga communities, and for as long as there are drugs available, the police, the military, the law enforcers will be corrupted, and the drug pushers will have their businesses going, and the drug users having access to the drugs that are made available by corruption. Corruption again is the root problem of all of this. Why is drugs allowed to enter the Philippines? Corruption. It passes through the container vans, right at the pier. And we have a law that says we can inspect all container vans entering the country from their points of origin. the Pinoy administration did not enforce it. I understand, masyadong malaki ang pera. Kasi nung pinasa namin yan, mag-e-eleksyon na eh. Hindi nila in-implement. Pinatulog na lang. Although he signed the law, but he did not enforce it. Dumating si Duterte, kinausap ko si Secretary Dominguez. In-explain ko, this is one good law that will prevent smuggling, the entry of drugs, and improve the revenues of the Customs Bureau. Patupad mo. Sabi niya, oh, give me 1 month. I will enforce it. Lito, don't worry. I will really enforce it.
Last couple of topics, sir. You've been vocal about this topic, sir, so I would really want to discuss with you on this one. Same-sex marriage, sir.
Cannot be. Same-sex marriage is not something that can be legalized or legislated. Marriage is a matter of natural law being done. Marriage is for procreation. It's not just about physical love, physical pleasure. May purpose of marriage. Building a home, procreation. How can now a male and a female, a male and a male, produce a child? How can a female be impregnated by another woman? Kaya hindi pwede. Pwede na yung wala na kailangan, hindi na kailangan yung same-sex marriage. If what you're after is your right to share your wealth with your loved one of the same sex, you can do that without introducing same-sex marriage. I have many friends. Neil, I used to be a dancer when I was young. So lahat yung grupo namin, kabayanihan, more than half belong to that group. LGBT. Nung araw, LGBT lang. Pero ngayon, may QRA, dami na. So anyway, so I work with them and I enjoyed days with them and I respect them for whatever they are. They are the most talented people, if you ask me, in art, in even in culture, in everything. May special talent sa mga yan. So hindi naman natin dapat discriminating. So fighting discrimination, I am definitely in, and I'm all for it. But legalizing marriage between them, I can never allow that. That's against the natural law and definitely against my religion.
So, sir, I just like to clarify because you mentioned the parang the marriage is not just about physical love; it's also about procreation. But for lack of a better term, sir, isn't that kind of mindset outdated in the sense that some couples, some homosexual couples, choose not to they want to get married, but they choose not to have children, and also you also have biological issues with that because in some cases, even if a couple, a homosexual couple, they want to, a heterosexual couple rather, they want to reproduce, they cannot because their bodies won't allow them to, especially if they have meron silang mga sakit, ganyan, sir. So if the point if the argument for going against same-sex marriage is that marriage is for procreation, hindi po ba na-defeat yung ganong argument?
Well, that will never change. Anything that is based on natural law, to me, will never change. Sabi nga sa akin ng mga sponsors ng measure when you are debating it on the floor, how do we change your mind, Congressman Atienza? Very simple. When the time comes when a woman can be impregnated by another woman, or the man now bears a child and delivers the baby, then I will change my mind. It means that natural laws change. Pero for as long as woman can only have a child because of a male partner, and a male can never be pregnant, I will not change my position. Not to mention, I have a strong position on my faith. The Catholic religion will never allow it.
Dito naman papasok, sir, yung argument na separation between the church and the state. So how...
No, Neil. You're misconstruing and misrepresenting the provision of law. Separation of church and state is when government gives more to one religion. That's against the law. Meaning, tatayo ng simbahan, itong religion na ito, against the law yun. Pero yung government influenced by religious thinking, I think it's good and proper. What's wrong with the Philippines, which is 83% Catholics, to reflect our faith in our laws? There's nothing wrong with that. But as long as yun nga, hindi ako mag-appropriate ng 10 billion pesos for the church in Santa Cruz, Manila, that's against the law.
How about sir? How about civil union? Because that's another kasi what the LGBT community is saying that what we are pushing here is for our legal rights to be recognized. By that, kasi yung sinasabi dyan, the argument is we want to be able to make a decision for our partners, especially, let's say, may medical issues. Someone has to make a decision. We're seeking for civil union because we want to be able to decide for them in times of these emergencies, or in cases of separation, we want our legal rights to be protected, sir. Because parang ang sinasabi nga dyan, nabasa ko online, is merely tolerating the LGBT community is different from actually recognizing their rights. Parang sinasabi daw is, yung LGBT community, pwede kayong magkailong pero bawal kayong huminga. Parang ganun yung analogy na nabasa ko online.
Ang layo naman ng analogy. Hindi, iba yung tolerating, iba yung accepting. Ako, I accept them. And I will never discriminate against them. As I said, I respect them. And in fact, I admire them. Because they even have more talents than the ordinary. But the point is, I cannot legislate something which should be inherent in your right as a person, as a human being. Ikaw, meron kang gustong bigyan ng mana mo, gusto mong tulungan every month, gusto mong gawin ang lahat para maligaya siya. That's your right. Nobody can prevent you from doing that. Whether dalawa kayong lalaki nagmamahalan, that's your right. So there is no need to make a law that will now impose on the greater majority of people of what they may consider unacceptable. So why force the issue when you don't have a problem? My point is, don't create the problem, but there is none.
Last question na lang, sir. So you said you're against discrimination. We're very clear on that. You're against discrimination of the LGBT community, but you are against same-sex marriage or civil union, sir. What's the line that separates discrimination and not allowing their right, like their legal rights to be recognized when it comes to union? And
it's not a hairline, you know. When you discriminate, and that should not be allowed. Meaning, there are two applicants. One is gay, the other one is not gay. You give the job to the one who's not gay because sabi mo, ayoko sa'yo dahil gay ka. That is discrimination. That's blatant discrimination. That should not be allowed. Yung marami pang instances silang binibigay ng una. Dapat daw, walang distinction ng men's room and women's room, ladies' room. Dapat pwedeng gamitin ni naman. That's not that's not proper. Sabi pa nung isa, dapat yung mga public shower room. Kaya ka na yung babae at lalaki mag-shower. There's nothing wrong with that. It's in the mind. You have dirty minds if you think there's something wrong with it. Sabi ko, no, we are preventing that may happen when a man and a woman, both naked, taking a shower together. They don't even know each other. You will allow that? Oh, there is a shower room here in Congress. Sabi ko, why don't we all take a shower now and prove to ourselves what we say? Dito may end of debate.
But isn't discrimination, sir, when you block a person's right, particularly someone from the marginalized sector, and one can make an argument about the LGBT community being a member of the marginalized sector, isn't that discrimination when you try to block a particular person's right?
It's not your right. It's society's norm. You don't take a shower together.
No, sir, in the context of civil union. In the context of civil
Are you going to allow your daughter to take a shower together with several males? in a public shower? You will not. Sabi mo, dalawa na, mali yan. Hindi dapat yan. Eh kung pumasa yan, kung hindi ko kinontra yan, siguro sabi mo, ano ba ginagawa ng mga congressmen natin? How can you allow that? Will you allow your seminary to be enrolling women? They wanted that. Would you allow a convent, allow men to enter a convent? Do those measures address the problem squarely of discrimination? That's not a discriminating rule. It's a rule of the whole house. A convent is for women. The seminary is for men. Ganon kasimple yun.
Okay, sir. Just quickly na lang, sir, since we're running out of time. Just a few more issues, sir. Pero ano na lang, sir, what's your stand on these na lang, sir? Maybe just a pro or against. Will that be all right with you, sir? First, sir, divorce. Pro or against?
Against.
Okay. Charter change.
In favor.
Sorry, sir?
In favor.
In favor. Okay. Death penalty.
Against.
Against. Political dynasties.
Against.
Against. Is the Philippines doing enough to address climate change? Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay. Last question, sir. Agrarian reform. Are we doing enough for our farmers?
No.
Okay. Sir, last question. Your message to everyone watching this. What will a Lito Atienza vice presidency look like?
What I can assure the nation and those who are watching and listening to us, Vice President Lito Atienza will be very, very helpful to President Manny Pacquiao. But as I have stressed, I am running for Vice President only because I believe in the man who's running for President. If you consider me, please consider Manny Pacquiao. If you consider me and not Manny Pacquiao, vote for the Vice President of your chosen presidential candidate. It would be better for the nation.
Okay. Thank you so much. Again, that is Congressman Lito Atienza running for Vice President in next year's elections. Sir, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. I know you're very busy.
Maraming salamat sa exchange natin, ating mga pananaw. That's
Thank
very,
you so
very enlightening. And I hope listening to us, people will also get similarly enlightened. Thank you.
That's our wish, sir, that healthy debates, kumbaga, in this coming elections. Again, that is Congressman Lito Atienza vying for the vice presidency next year's elections. Everyone, please keep safe.